Samurai 8, Chapter 20, Partner. So this is a really fun chapter, really exciting because we're getting to see where things are headed. Reminds me kind of the Hunter x Hunter Greed Island arc so far, and I just can't wait to see where it goes. So let's get into it. So we're getting a clarification on the Samurai Regeneration dynamic, which is much needed, of course. And we're seeing that it is much faster and pragmatic, I guess, to simply just reattach a severed body part rather than allowing it to regenerate. And of course, this goes back to the programming or the software that was supplied by Akawa that comes with the locker balls, which I likened to like chakra and that dynamic in Naruto. This is how everything works. It's essentially just a program that manipulates atoms and matter that allows them to do the things they do, such as regeneration and reattaching things and creating the holder stuff and the swords and all of that good stuff. So we're also seeing that, like, if the head is severed, that the body will regenerate from the head and not from the body and regrow a head. And that's because the key, you know, that spinal thing that we see, is in the cranium, and that it acts as the C-axis, which is essentially like the principal axis, I suppose, for like a mechanism or the structure of a thing. I'm not too, bright with that stuff. I'm very stupid when it comes to things like that. But that's more or less what Daruma's trying to say here, or at least what I think he's trying to say. But also, it's like showing us that they are vulnerable for sure, and they're definitely not invincible. And there are stakes to them being wounded and damaged here. Like, you essentially can wipe out their ki, and then they're done. So even if Hachimaru is removing his head here, it doesn't mean that he's immortal and that the stakes aren't raised. So then it's also reiterated that regeneration speed varies from person to person, and this was implied in the previous chapter. When we saw that Hachimaru was able to regenerate faster than the typical samurai, and it's of course because he has like an inherent potential or talent. And I think it's more than that too. I mean, it does come down to that, but also I'm sure it varies from the power of a samurai. Like, the more powerful you are, the faster you regenerate. Meaning, like, I'm sure guys like Ata, Mujin, and maybe even Daruma can regenerate way quicker than what, like, a typical samurai would. So we're getting some more camaraderie between Hachimaru and Ryu, and I really like that they're building a bond here. I really like Ryu, and I really hope that he sticks around. I think he's a solid addition to the cast. Sugah is cool too, and we'll get into them, we'll say. But Hachimaru points out, that Ryu has the two souls, which is a great question because it's like, how do you get multiple souls? As far as I know, that hasn't really been revealed yet. We saw that Ata had multiple souls, and I always assumed that maybe you just take it from a samurai that you defeated, because we know that that's a thing. Like, we saw that Ronin's soul was still in captivity, back on Hachimaru's home planet. So can you just use their soul the way that, the vampire soul, Takazuna's soul, is being used? And I guess that kind of works, but then it's like, why don't they just take random samurai fodder souls, like in the tournament later on? Or maybe they do, I don't know, but it raises a good question why Ryu has multiple souls, and of course he doesn't know. He doesn't really know anything, and like I already said, he's like a Jason Bourne type deal here. Like, he's super powerful, super formidable, way skillful, but just doesn't know anything. Like, doesn't even know what a master is. Like, it's getting to the point where it's kind of ridiculous. But then we're getting more into Sugah. And Sugah has some kind of secret to them. And I keep saying them because I'm not sure what their gender is. Now, of course, it's being portrayed that Sugah is a guy, a male, but maybe that's not the case. Because as soon as Hachimaru talks about, asks Ryu about his princess and his key holder, then we see Sugah gets really bothered. Butts in. It's like, are you persistent? Everyone has a secret or two they don't want to talk about. And then he goes on to say, not to mention, sometimes people have things they'd really rather forget. So this could mean, now this is a theory, of course, nothing concrete, that Sugah is maybe Ryu's princess. Now, I assumed this originally because you know how they come in pairs and that one is drawn to the other. It's possible that something happened, I don't know, to where Ryu lost his memory, and Sugah is trying to look after Ryu the best that they can, because even if Sugah maybe tries to explain to Ryu what the truth is about how they are his holder, they are his princess, and what the past is, it still won't matter. He still won't be able to make sense of it. So maybe it's just better to just have him go along and just assume that Kotsuga is somebody that they just met and just, you know, keep going until Ryu is able to regain his memories, because we're also seeing that's his motivation here. He just wants to find out who he is, find out what happened, essentially. So going back to the whole, not to mention, sometimes people have things they'd really rather forget. For some reason, maybe Kotsuga wants to be portrayed as a guy. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe she, because she does seem, or he does seem, feminine. You know, the face is feminine, the eye is feminine, the physique is feminine, and like they have like this big, you know, kind of coat on, like concealing their physique, maybe concealing their chest, possibly. I don't know, but there's obviously some kind of secret to Kotsuga here, and also Ryu, and I'm thinking it has something to do with that. And you might be saying, well, why is he always hitting on An? Well, it could be because either Kotsuga, being a girl, is into girls, or is just trying to put up this facade like, hey, I'm a dude and I hit on chicks, I'm not a girl, look at me. You know, that could be another thing that's going on here. So then we're seeing, like, there's of course an ulterior motive to what Kotsuga wants. You know, teaming up with Hachimaru, Daruma, and An here. It's that, like, if they do lose or just die in this tournament, they're just going to try to steal everything from them. And it seems like Ryu is reluctantly going along with this, but kind of has his own, you know, reservations to it. But I'm sure there's going to be a part in this arc where Kotsuga tries to double-cross them or something. And I just hope Ryu doesn't go along with them, because like I said, I love Ryu. I want him to stick around and just be a permanent member of the cast. Be like a good addition to this team and just help them and not just double-cross them. They need all of the allies they can get at this part. So they arrive at the planet, and An points out that the two slashes in the planet are ravines, and then Kotsuga is confirming that those are definitely slashes left by the tournament organizer, the ogre-looking dude, as we expected, because they do straight up look like slashes, and it was already revealed that he can cut planets in half, which means that he's like one of the stronger characters, probably up there close to Atta in power. Maybe not as strong as him, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but, you know, around there. Definitely stronger than, like, the Ryu tier, we'll say. So once they get there, we see, like, a pretty cool landscape, and apparently these are ruins, the things that we see, but it looks like this could have been a holder, or maybe it still is an active holder. This big Terminator-looking thing kind of reminds me of the boss of Mass Effect 2, so I'm sure this is going to come back to life at one point. Maybe that's, like, one of the holders that some of the guys here controls or something, or maybe it just is a ruin. I don't know, but it looks cool nonetheless. So once they get down there, we finally see the reveal of the tournament organizer, and he does look like ogreish, like I kind of suspected from his outline, and his holder looks like an orc bull type thing, and that's pretty cool. We don't get much more to this guy, but we can see that he has like a, you know, a big screen where you can see all the participants, and then that satellite planet type thing that's hovering around the planet with the cut in it shoots like this stasis field thing, this net around the planet, so nobody can escape. That's kind of cool, and I think it's further showing that this is likely his main holder. Like, he just has a holder planet, or a holder moon, essentially, you know, like akin to like what Daruma's giant sea turtle holder is. So then suddenly these number screens pop up next to all of the samurais in the group, you know, Daruma, Ryu, Hachimaru, and as we kind of expected, this is the number of participants that are going to be in this battle royale. So an interesting thing here is that Daruma's number says 1577, as where Ryu's and Hachimaru says 1572. This could be a typo, or it means something else. I'm not sure why the numbers are different here. Your guess is as good as mine. But then we see like this other samurai looking at them from a distance. We see him earlier when they first touch base on the planet. Kind of looks like a Tusken Raider, kind of, and then he has like a saber-toothed tiger holder. These guys look awesome, and then they just get the jump on them. And I'm like, oh crap. Things aren't looking good for them, because at this point we're really unsure how Hachimaru is going to do against other samurais. I mean, yeah, he took out Ronin, but we just saw what he did against Ryu. Things weren't looking too good, and it seems like just samurais in general are pretty formidable. But no, they all get slashed up. They're essentially fodder. Did not expect this to happen the way that it does. Like Ryu and Hachimaru just slash these guys up, no problem. Pretty cool, not gonna lie. And then we see the numbers that are next to them go down. So that's 5 right off the bat. And yes, of course, that means that there are 1,567 participants left in this tournament. And as the Ogre tournament organizer dude says that, the last person standing wins. Let the Battle Royale win. So I guess this means that, I don't know, Daruma and Hachimaru and Ryu are going to have to decide on who's going to be the last man standing. If it does come down to them, which is possible, or maybe they all lose before they have to face each other. But something is going to happen to where they all have to agree that there's going to be one person left. And I don't think it's going to be Hachimaru because he's not strong enough to go against this Ogre guy. Clearly not. So maybe it's going to be Daruma. Or maybe it's Ryu. But Ryu also doesn't seem strong enough. But man, that's going to be many chapters into the future. And there's going to be so many developments in this arc. And I'm really looking forward to this. I don't think tournament arcs or Battle Royale arcs or whatever are played out. I think they're really essential to battle manga. I think they're a good way to develop the characters and the dynamic of the show, and also give us, the super interesting dynamic of a tournament going on. Because who doesn't like that stuff? It's so cool. Of course, when it's well done. Sometimes it can be a disaster, but I think Kishimoto is going to do it well here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with this. Your guess is as good as mine as to what's going to happen after this point. But let me know what you think about it in the comments. If you like the review, guys, please give it a like. And I also have a Patreon that gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.